Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Lele. Today, we're going to get into something that's, well, just incredibly important for anyone with a pet. We're going to talk about all those everyday foods we have in our kitchens that can actually be really, really dangerous for our furry best friends.
And before we dive in, a big welcome to Animals Healing. If you think this kind of info is as vital as I do, please take a second to like this and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep making content that helps keep our amazing animals safe and sound.
So let's just jump right in with a question that honestly gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. How is it possible that a few little grapes, something so healthy for us, could be a deadly poison for your dog? It's not about their size or how much they eat. It's about something much more fundamental going on inside their bodies.
And it all comes down to this one core scientific idea: species specificity. You know, our pets aren't just little furry humans. Their bodies, their whole metabolic systems are just different. A lot of the time, they're missing the specific enzymes that our bodies use to process certain foods. So for us, a food is no big deal. For them, those same compounds can build up and become toxic. If you can wrap your head around this one idea, everything else we talk about today is going to make so much more sense.
All right, so let's get into our first group of troublemakers. We're going to start with the classic kitchen dangers, the ones you've probably heard whispers about, but maybe you don't know the why behind the warning. Chocolate. The big one, right? The number one no-no for dogs. But why? Well, the real bad guy here is a chemical called theobromine. And as you can see from this chart, not all chocolate is created equal. That bitter baking chocolate, it is packed with this stuff, making it the most dangerous. On the other end, white chocolate has barely any. It's all about how concentrated that toxin is.
But here it is. This is the piece of the puzzle that makes chocolate so incredibly dangerous for dogs. A human can process theobromine pretty quickly, but in a dog, it has a half-life of 17.5 hours. That's a long time. It means the toxin just lingers and builds up and up in their system, overstimulating their heart and nervous system to a point that can, tragically, be fatal.
Okay, next up, onions and garlic, and really anything in that family. Those sharp, flavorful compounds we love, that's what does the damage. Once a pet eats them, it kicks off this really nasty process. It basically attacks their red blood cells, causing oxidative damage. The body then sees these damaged cells, flags them for destruction, and this whole process can lead to a really serious type of anemia.
And hey, for all you cat owners watching, please listen up. Cats are biologically 2 to 3 times more sensitive to this than dogs are. We're talking even a tiny amount of onion powder hidden in something like baby food or a broth, that could be enough to cause major problems. It's a really critical difference to be aware of.
All right, let's move on. We've covered the usual suspects. Now we're going to pull back the curtain on some of the more silent, hidden threats, the dangers that might not be on your radar at all, but are just as serious. So remember that question about grapes from the beginning? Well, here is the absolutely terrifying answer. For some dogs, this is it. 4 or 5 grapes, that tiny amount, can be enough to send them into sudden acute kidney failure. And the scariest part, we still don't know why it affects some dogs and not others. That's why even 1 grape is considered a serious emergency. And now for a truly modern-day toxin, xylitol. Just look at this timeline. It shows just how fast this threat has exploded. Back in 2004, we first linked this sugar substitute to a massive insulin dump in dogs, causing their blood sugar to crash. Just 2 years later, we figured out that larger doses could cause their liver to fail completely. And by 2019, well, the problem had spread way beyond just sugar-free gum.
And this is why it's so insidious now. Xylitol isn't just in the candy aisle anymore. You've got to check labels on everything. It's hiding in some brands of peanut butter, in gummy vitamins for people, toothpaste, prescription medications, even skincare products and nasal sprays. The danger zone has expanded from the pantry to the medicine cabinet, which means we have to be more vigilant than ever. And that brings us to a broader way of looking at this. The risks aren't always about a scrap of food you accidentally drop on the floor. Sometimes the dangers are much bigger. They're systemic risks that can be hidden in the commercial food chain itself.
For example, let's talk about aflatoxin. This is a really potent toxin that comes from a type of mold that can grow on grains like corn, a super common ingredient in pet food. You can't see it, you can't smell it, but it can cause devastating liver damage.
And this is not just a theory, okay? In 2020, the FDA had to issue major recalls for pet foods that were contaminated with deadly levels of this stuff. It's a real-world risk. Another risk can come from popular diet trends, like raw feeding. Now, I know people who do this have the absolute best intentions for their pets, but expert groups like the British Small Animal Veterinary Association put out strong warnings like this one. And the key thing to understand here is that it's not just about the pet, it's a public health issue. Raw meat can carry nasty pathogens like salmonella and listeria that pose a risk to every single person living in the house, not just the animal eating the food.
Okay, I know that's a whole lot of information, and it can feel pretty heavy. So what do we do with all this? Let's turn all of this knowledge into a simple, clear playbook, an action plan to keep our pets safe.
You know, prevention really does start with simple habits. Get in the groove of being a label detective. Always check for xylitol. Start thinking like your pet. Secure your purse, your backpack, the bathroom cabinets, places where they might find trouble. Lock down your trash and compost. And maybe most important of all, just make no your default answer when it comes to sharing your food. It's just not worth the risk unless you have explicitly cleared it with your vet.
And if the worst case scenario happens, if they eat something they shouldn't, the key is to stay calm and act fast. Your first call is always to your vet or an emergency clinic. The ASPCA Animal Poison Control Center is another amazing resource you should have on hand. Just be ready to tell them 3 things: what they ate, how much you think they ate, and when it happened. That information is absolutely critical for getting them the right help.
At the end of the day, this isn't about being scared all the time. It's about being prepared. It's about being knowledgeable. By understanding these risks and having a plan, you're giving your beloved pet the most incredible gift you possibly can: a safe home and the best chance at a long, healthy, and happy life right by your side.
Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you feel more empowered and confident after this. If you found this helpful, please give it a like and share it with every pet owner you know. And make sure you subscribe to Crystal Color Enjoy Life so you don't miss our next episode. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you next time.